Hey, happy Monday. Happy World Series week. It's going to be a busy week for us for sure. How busy it's going to be, I'm not sure. Oh, is that from me?
No, it was me.
Well, no, but it's the best excuse ever. Wait. What? So what was coming from AJ's iPad? He's watching the show.
Yeah, well, it's on. Because it's for the chat.
Yes.
I mean, I've been gone a while, so I had to, take
saying
some
hi
to catch back up.
Yeah, saying hi to the FT fam. So we're going to have a busy week. How busy, though? I'm not sure because it depends how many games we have this week. I mean, it's 2-0. Like, we might not even have a game 5.
It's going back to LA. They'll figure it out.
So that means the Yankees will take 2 out of 3 before we go back. And I mentioned this. We'll get into it. Let me just tell everyone about the schedule, and then let's dive into why AJ thinks it's going to go back to Los Angeles. So post-game shows tonight after game 3. Every game's at 8, by the way, Eastern. So when the game ends, 8:08, exactly, the time I was born. When the game ends, yeah, true. We will be up right after the game for games 3 and 4, post-game show on Foul Territory, on Pinstripe Territory with Derek, on Dodgers Territory with Alana and Clint. We're absolutely having a time right now with the Dodgers taking the first 2. And then we'll give you the rest of the schedule as the week goes on, okay? But focus on the next 2 days. And then let's bring it back here because I want to charge the damn mound and find out why we think this thing is going to return to LA.
Charging the mound.
All right, dude. What are you seeing?
Well, first of all, when you're in Europe and the games are on at like 3 a.m, it's a rough watch.
But you're watching at 3
I'm laying there in my bed, and I have my iPad like this.
Yeah.
And I have the brightness all the way down, and I have my headphones in trying to listen to it.
Nice.
Try not to wake people up. And, yeah.
You didn't yell during the Freddie Freeman homer? Like,
no, I stayed up the whole time.
I'm saying, like, other people are sleeping, and you're like, oops, sorry.
No, I
the Freeman homer was crazy.
You know what? Okay, before we even dig into this, or actually, I'm going to dig into it right now because screw it. I watched. I didn't see your guys' post game, but I saw some of the quotes, and that was an unbelievable game.
Yes.
Okay, I saw the clips because the game got over at like 6 a.m, so I had to get up to do things the next day. So when you go to bed, then you wake up at 2, and then you go to bed at 6, you got to be up at like 8. It's a rough day.
Okay, you don't have to watch our post game. Yeah.
So, but I'll say this. I don't know if y'all talked about this, but the biggest play of that whole thing was Verducci catching the ball and falling in the stands. Because if he doesn't fall in the stands, they don't walk Mookie to get to Freddie.
For sure?
100%. Mookie's 0 for 5 off Nestor in his career. And you're not going to walk him without the first base open, I don't think. As soon as he fell in the stands and it got second and third, then it was an easier choice for Boone. I know, and I also agree with – go ahead, Kratzy.
No, go ahead.
Wait.
And I also agree with what y'all said because why was Tim Hill not in that game? Listen, I was in 2014. I was on the St. Louis Cardinals, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We played the Giants. Our season was on the line. We go to extra innings. We had a full bullpen of dudes. We brought in Michael Wacha, hadn't pitched in over a month, home run, Travis Ishikawa. They go on to win the World Series. Everyone's like, listen, I love Michael Wacha, but he hadn't pitched in a month. So you bring in Nestor Cortez to face 2 of the best hitters in baseball, and he hasn't pitched in, 6 weeks? That's a tough gig, bro. Listen, I love Aaron Boone, and I think he's a great manager. I just don't know. Tim Hill, side slinging lefty. I know he doesn't really throw a slider. He throws like 98% heaters.
He looked good yesterday.
I agreed. So I don't know. To me, those were the 2 biggest plays. Where's Tim Hill when you needed him? And when Verducci fell in the stands, it changed the whole inning. Because if he catches it and stays on the field, I don't think they walk Mookie. I think he faces Mookie.
All right, I looked because I said the exact same thing, and I looked back at it. We'll talk about the Tim Hill thing in a second. AJ, do they automatically move up to second and third just because Verducci fell in the stands? Or did Verducci commit I should have known that rule and cause them to move up?
I don't know. I know that if you catch a ball and fall in the stands, the guys get a base because I told the story. Doug Minkiewicz did it in Kansas City, and it cost Troy Hawkins his first blown save one year. He jumped into the stands, and they automatically moved up. A guy scored.
They only automatically move up if you throw the ball from out of play. It's not an automatic dead ball when you go into the stands.
Doug didn't do that. Doug just caught the ball, jumped up, and they automatically moved up. So, maybe someone doesn't know the rule, but unless the rules changed, But I know Doug jumped into those little stands in Kansas City, those little suites, caught a ball, and came up and was coming out, and the umpire's like, dead ball. Everyone moves up, and the guy scored.
It has to do with throwing the ball out of play.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
That's how I was always told the rule. So if somebody can tell me incorrectly, I've thought the rule was the whole time, like even if you catch the ball and step 1 foot into the dugout, you have to reestablish in play and throw the ball. Because Verdugo fell in and threw the ball from out of play, that is why they moved up, according to how I see the rules.
That's fine. And actually, this is a good question for a guy who definitely will have the answer and will help us.
Verducci?
Verducci,
yeah.
So let's bring this to him so we can.
But I thought, honestly, that was the biggest play because then it allowed them. It took all the guesswork out of it for Boone.
Yes.
For me. He's like, oh, Freddie's been struggling. We got lefty.
But they picked the wrong lefty. We hammered that.
I know you did. I saw the clip.
They picked the wrong lefty.
And I agree with that.
And I agree. Why? You know why they picked the wrong lefty? If you go and look at the numbers, if you put heat map on heat map, where does Freddie like to hit the ball in the zone, AJ?
In. He likes the ball in.
In and down. He likes it down across. It's a little bit less away, but it's still hot. His hot heat map is down and in. Tim Hill, his heat map of where most of his pitches go, down and in. So that was a decision to me because their algorithm overlaid Tim Hill and Freddie Freeman, and it's like, oh, that's bad. That's bad. We don't like that. And to me, I think that's where they messed up.
So he can't pitch anywhere else but down and in to a lefty?
Well, no, but he's 3 for 7 with a homer off of Tim Hill.
Right. So there's good numbers. I get it. Okay, well, let's spin it forward, too. So game 2, Yamamoto, who the Yankees really wanted.
What's the story?
He was the story, yes.
100%. He dealt. He freaking dealt. He's now dealt twice against the Yankees.
Yes. Those were the 2 best games of his career. The one during the season, the one here. Plus, he was great last time around. I mean, maybe not as much swing and miss, but it doesn't matter. Like, he was absolutely powering through this lineup. And
much like Garrett Cole, though, in game 1, 88 pitches, they took him out.
You wanted him to keep going?
I mean, he wasn't struggling for me.
No, he wasn't. But he hasn't pitched much down the stretch, the whole thing. I don't care either. I'm just saying
I thought he could have got you through another inning, probably.
Okay.
But
yeah, because things got dicey in the 9th eventually. But also, I mean, Blake Trinan, for the most part, I know he's given up, a run in each of his last, I think, 3 appearances now. But he's been pretty damn good.
Here's what I thought the Yankees' game plan against Yamamoto is they were looking for the ball up, right? Because if you swing at the ball down, you're out automatically. So you got to make him throw the ball up. And he was getting some calls that were like borderline out of the strike zone up to me. And then that changes your game plan as a hitter because you're like, gosh, I can't look up here and get 98 up out of the zone and then have to try to cover the split. I thought he did a good job of what I love that he did is he flipped in the curveball a lot for strikes. He just stole strikes. He's like, oh, they're never going to swing at it early in the count. He just flipped in curveballs. And then when he did get ahead, he had the split. He threw it to lefties. He threw it to righties. And it's such a hard pitch to lay off of as a former hitter, especially when you got a guy rushing up there 95 plus. But I thought he was incredible. I thought the way Dave Roberts handled his bullpen was great again. And listen, until Aaron Judge hits for me, though, the Yankees are in trouble. And listen, Aaron Judge, say whatever you want, but if he doesn't hit, Yankees are in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
His fastball, we said it probably after his first outing in Korea this year. His fastball's good. He has to throw it. And I thought exactly what AJ said. He threw enough of them to make them, okay, like we got to start a little earlier. And if you got to start a little earlier, now that split was 90-91, bottom of the zone. He didn't get a lot of punch outs, but he mowed through them. It was a easy, I think he only had 4 punchies. It was an easy outing for only having 4 punch outs. It's not like he dominated without punching out the world.
And what do we always say? Like, starting pitching usually wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through 2 games, the Dodgers have had 2 better starters. I mean, listen, I know Flaherty gave up the 2-run homer to Stanton, and Cole only gave up the 1. But total, between the 2, I would take Yamamoto and Flaherty over Kershaw and Rodon.
Right, and that was where they were supposed to be an edge. Yeah, they were supposed to be the Yankees' big edge, right? Although the edge, I think, extends now to games 3 and 4, but we'll see what happens. You know?
Yeah, but you're already down 2-0.
You're down 2-0.
And tonight is huge because Buehler's been throwing the ball well.
He has. So why is the series going back to LA then?
I just think the Yankees find a way in New York.
You think they get 2 out of 3?
I can't see it being a sweep.
Mm-hmm.
These teams are too evenly matched, and I think in Yankee Stadium, I think with the bullpen day, I just think the Yankees figure out a way to get it back to LA.
But that makes this is it. I mean, because if you fall down 3-0, you're essentially done, right? And the series even changes with the tone whenever there's a 3-0. You know, it often gets done. You know how it often gets done after a 3-0.
And almost always, if it goes 3-0, it's almost always a sweep.
Yeah. So, okay, you think it's going back, Kratz?
I do, because I think you talk about the advantage. I think the Dodgers took advantage of these last 2 games with their starting pitching. Yankees have in my opinion, a distinct advantage with the starting pitching here. And I think it matters more because it's 3 games. I'm not saying the Dodgers aren't going to empty the tank for all 3 games. I'm saying the Yankees get a lead. Their starting pitching can push them far enough ahead where they're going to say, okay, we can't just go bullpen day after Buehler only goes 3 innings. We can't just go right to our number 1 guys because tomorrow we have a bullpen day. And then we're coming back in game 5 and we got 3 games in a row. It's just going to tax this bullpen. And I think this is where the Yankees' advantage comes up.
Yeah, but I think they'll ride Buehler until he can't throw anymore.
Which could be bad.
No, but I think they did it against San Diego, remember? Remember? They did it against San Diego. Buehler gave up a bunch of runs early, and they're like, you're throwing 100. Let's see how far you can go. And he got him to like the 5th inning. And it saved guys, right? So I think that's what they're planning on doing with Buehler tonight. They're going to be like, if he's good or bad. If he's going good, they're going to ride him as long as they can.
A little bit, yeah.
And if he's bad, they're going to be like, guess what, dude? You're wearing it until you get to a number, and then we're bringing in someone else.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of what they're at least I think.
And just to clarify the rule, so from crew chief Ted Barrett, as soon as Verdugo fell into and as soon as he fell into an out of play area, the ball's dead, you advance 1 base. Throw doesn't matter.
See?
So that's the rule.
I thought the throw mattered.
Sorry, retired ump Ted Barrett, my bad. Former crew chief.
Mm-hmm. Great guy. Former sparring partner Mike Tyson.
Woo, yeah, there you go.
Don't forget that.
And yes, to just reiterate, if Aaron Judge looks like this right now, I mean, dude's going to come up in big spots left.
I love what Kratz, we're going to get to it. I don't know if we're getting to it now or later, but I love what Kratz tweeted about he's trying the Trey Turner thing, like cheer him. But I'll say this. He's so late on heaters. Like, he's been throwing so many sliders in his year. He is so late on. Like, at some point you think like, all right, I'm Aaron Judge. I'm going to cheat like hell. And even if you get a slider and you swing and miss at it, but he looks like he is just waiting on sliders and just waiting on sliders and waiting on sliders. And now they're being able to rush him a little bit. And as soon as he's a hitter, and I think Kratz are good to me, as soon as you get that first heater rushed on you and you're beat on a heater, your whole world changes. You're like, oh boy, now what? Now, because I'm used to getting to that pitch, right? He's used to just boom, getting to that pitch easy. And now all of a sudden he's like, I'm late. What do I do? So then it speeds everything up in your head and your body. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay. And that's when you start having the really bad swings.
Yeah, you're getting strikes in the zone. You're getting strikes out of the zone. Yeah. You're just getting it all.
It just seems like you're 0-2 every at bat. You go up there and you're like, oh, it's 0-2. And I haven't even started yet.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot. We'll get into Judge a little bit more later on. Let's focus on Ohtani, among other things, coming up. So I'm excited to have Will Carroll join us at Injury Expert on Twitter. I've been following him for a long time as we'll get into the shoulder situation with Shohei. Next on FT. We threw up a poll question. We're doing this more often for the FT YouTube fam as we're going. Should Boone have taken out Cole at 88 pitches? Now, easy for most people to look back here and say.
I said no. I said no when he did it. I didn't understand it.
This is like a philosophical thing right now in our sport.
No, this is
every guy gets removed in this range. They do. I mean, 100's like not a hard cap, but it's pretty close.
I mean, he threw 6 innings. He threw 6 solid innings.
That's what they're going to say.
I think he left. Didn't he leave a guy? Didn't he leave the guy on first?
It was 6+. Yeah, it was in the 7th.
He left the guy, and then they brought in Clay Holmes to try to get out of it.
Yep.
And they end up giving up the run. But I thought, I don't know. I thought he could have got him through one more. Then you have Canely and Lee Weaver finish it out 7. Now listen, I mean, you're not planning on Canely giving up a run. He hadn't given up a run in forever. Granted, it was but. And then the grand slam, obviously, but the walks too. We didn't even talk about the walks that inning.
You're saying Gavin Lux?
Yeah.
Yeah, that we definitely, dude, we went over that. While we were watching that.
Cousins, as soon as you walk Gavin Lux, you're
like,
big
oh
problems.
Gosh. Who is right now and I say this with respect, but who is the easiest out in the Dodgers lineup?
Will Smith.
Will Smith. Okay, Will Smith.
Sorry.
Alex Verdugo. Wait, he's not in the Dodgers anymore.
Okay, fine. Okay, so Smith, who's number 2?
Lux.
Exactly.
I mean, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Hernandez, Muncy.
They're all freaking.
I mean, Lux and Will Smith are the 2. I mean, right now, but Will Smith swung a better. Dude, that ball he hit yesterday, or dude, it was
Saturday.
Like a line drive over the shortstop's head that went in the gap. That ball that's how you hit a baseball.
He's smoking some balls now.
Yeah.
He's starting.
He's figuring it out a little bit, but
yeah.
I mean, yeah. But Lux is the one guy you can't walk him. I think it was 0-2 walk too, wasn't it? Wasn't he ahead 0-2, I think, and walked him? I don't know. Again,
I think it was a 5-pitch
Again,
walk.
I was half asleep. So.
It was a 5-pitch walk, but either way, it doesn't matter. Like, you got to find the zone, man.
Yeah, and then Edman obviously got the hit.
Yeah. And, hey, I want to keep doing this, too. You gave credit to Yama. Like, give credit to the Dodgers. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not making excuses about a ton of starting pitchers being out. They've got a great bullpen. Dave Roberts is generally doing a really nice job this postseason. Yeah. Edman is – look at Andrew Friedman right now. Flaherty, that was me.
Edman.
Kopech, that was me. Edman, yeah, that was me. I mean,
for nothing really. He didn't give up much for any of them either.
Yeah,
I mean for Flaherty more than the other 2.
But that might win you a World Series. Right now, it's looking good the way he.
If you got to give up Sweeney for Flaherty, and you win the World Series, you give up Sweeney, 2 A-ball guys,
all day.
Vargas,
all day.
Let's do it.
Hey, we're excited to have Will Carroll at Injury Expert on Twitter joining us right now to talk injuries. What's up, Will? Great to have you on. Appreciate the time, man.
Great to be on, though it's always bad news when I come on.
I know, but you're used to that. You get the phone call, and we hope that at least you can bring us some positivity to the news. So we'll jump right to it. I mean, you see what happened to Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, they're saying like he should be okay and he should play. Even if that's the case, what does that look like?
He should be able to play. All indications are that he didn't have any range of motion issues, that he didn't have any strength issues. What he had was an anterior subluxation. Basically, with his left shoulder, when he landed on it, it forced the head of the humerus to come out forward. So it didn't come all the way out. Anytime with a dislocation or a subluxation, which is just kind of a mini dislocation, what you're worried about is not whether you can get it back in. That almost is always the case. What you're worried about is what got damaged inside. What got stretched? Is it a ligament? Is it a tendon? Is it the shoulder capsule? Worse, when it slams back in, is it the labrum? So it looks like he escaped all of that it's just painful, that it's a little bit swollen. They were able to control that with modalities. My sources told me no injections at all. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's also his back shoulder for swinging, so it's a little less affected, but we'll see how it is. I would honestly think about resting him for game 3, give him another day, but without an injection, without any serious indications of problem, I can see why you get him back in, because he is Shohei Ohtani.
Well, first of all, he's playing. Okay, I mean, it's the World Series. It's game 3. If this was June, you'd be like, okay, Shohei, we're going to give you a couple of days. It's game 3 of the World Series in New York. They got a chance to go for the jugular here. He's playing. Now my question is it didn't look like much. Like he had his left arm. I can't really do it because the screen's so small, but like he had his left arm kind of dragging behind him. Now, Kratz, I don't know if Kratz ever had this, but as a catcher, I would catch, and every once in a while a guy would throw a ball way up and away, like way up here, and you kind of it would be like, oh, right? And then it would kind of, and you move it a little bit. Is that kind of the same thing? That it just kind of,
a little bit.
It kind of just pinches on you a little bit, and then after a day or two, it kind of goes away?
Yeah, that's actually more a pectoral issue, where your pec muscle comes up and attaches. You see this a lot with NFL, like offensive linemen. They'll get pushed back. It's the same thing when it's overhead. When he landed on it, it basically just forced it forward. And instead of the whole shoulder coming, it was just the bone.
So is this something that could, because you always hear about people who get like dislocated shoulders and then all of a sudden, they're walking around and they jump and land and they're poop. Oh no, my shoulder. Is this something that could linger in the sense of like, a year from now, he's dislocating. John Smoltz even said, "Oh, I did it 13 times in one season on my non-throwing shoulder." I'm like, seems kind of terrible, but is this something that could linger, or is it a different type of dislocation?
We hope not. What you don't want to have happen is that the shoulder capsule and those muscles that hold everything in, you don't want those to become lax. They'll get like old socks and just slide down. And we've seen issues like that. Fernando Tatis Jr. had that issue. And, then when he was on suspension, he went back in. They basically just tightened things back up, and he's been fine. Another one, and this is kind of the best example, is Cody Bellinger. Why do I always call him his dad? Cody Bellinger a couple of years ago, when he had that sort of high five and popped his shoulder out. He had to have it tightened back up, and he's had really no problems since. So hopefully it's not an issue where he has to have that, but it is kind of stretching things out, and that's really the concern you have.
But isn't that was a bigger deal, though, because it was his front shoulder, right? It was his right arm that he did the whole thing, and he was like, oh, and where Shohei, it's his back shoulder, and it's non-pitching shoulder for anybody out there worried like this is going to affect his pitching again next year. It's his back shoulder. Now, as a former left-handed hitter, I would play golf, and my left shoulder sometimes from getting through it would get sore. And so then, like, if I would hit a lot, my shoulder would get sore. So it didn't really affect me. It was more of just, man, that's kind of a pain in the butt. It never affected me when I was hitting. I was like, oh, I can't swing because my left shoulder's sore. It was more of just, man, it's like a aggravation. You're like, this is just annoying.
That's exactly it. It doesn't feel right because there's a little more movement in there. Bellinger's was also a posterior dislocation, and his was actually out, so it was a bigger stretch than what Ohtani likely had. So the direction, what it stretches, what it moves, there's a lot of things that affect things and a lot of things that don't. I mean, like Jazz Chisholm is playing with a torn UCL. That doesn't affect your swing at all. And since it's a non-throwing hand, he's able to do things. If normal people tear their UCL, they don't need Tommy John surgery. It's just if you're trying to throw 90 miles an hour over and over.
All right, so let's bring everyone on here for a sec because I want Kratz to be visible when I ask this. But when we did our post-game show the other day, Kratz was like, Freddie's ankle's fine. I mean, obviously, he's bashing a homer of his life, the first Grand Slam walk-off we've seen in World Series history, the whole deal and all that. He had the triple earlier in that game.
And he doesn't even have a bloody sock.
No bloody sock, right? And some people were offended, though, and Kratz likes to, use a little sarcasm in how he operates and how he delivers. But, Will, what are you seeing from Freddie, and how do you explain what he's going through ankle-wise right now? Because some people were like, no, he's really hurt, and, give him more credit. We are giving him credit. So what is he going through, and is it 4 to 5 hours of treatment? How does this all go down?
So he has a high ankle sprain, and we've seen these over and over. We don't often see them in baseball just because there's not the mechanism like you would in soccer or American football. So it's a situation where this high ankle sprain, it is not healed. It's just simply not. And what the high ankle is, it's actually the syndesmosis joint, which is in between the two bones of the lower leg. And when that moves, you don't want it to. So it gets stretched a little bit. It's painful. It lingers. It takes about 6 weeks. It's this big, thick ligament in there. So he's dealing with it. But there's two things that happened. First, he got the extra rest. Those 3 or 4 days off where he wasn't re-injuring it essentially every single day, that really helped. He's also gotten comfortable with it. Sometimes you just have to own the pain and be able to deal with it. And it's lessened probably. He's gotten used to the small brace that he's wearing. He's gotten used to what he can and can't do. So I think this is the situation where he's just more comfortable with the pain. I'm sure the treatment helps. That's a great medical staff there. So I think they've been able to first manage it, and he's been able to control it.
We talk about it all the time. AJ even alluded to it. Shohei's playing. You're going to play in the World Series. How long is too long for a guy like Freddie Freeman, who's not tiny? He's probably 230 pounds, to be running on a injured ankle, to not hurt his ankle more, because assuming it's probably, unless he rolls it, it's not getting worse, to hurt other things, hips, knees, back. How much is that a fear at what time span? Like if the playoffs were 2 months, he would have. Could he have more significant issues with other parts of his body?
Yeah, that's a great idea, Eric. It's one of those things where I don't think with any sort of ankle sprain, the body essentially protects itself in these situations. It's not going to allow you to do the things. If that was a serious, severe high ankle sprain, one that might require surgery, and we've seen this, Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback for the Dolphins, has tightrope in both his ankles, which is kind of a Kevlar fiber holding things together rather than having those ligaments for the high ankle. I don't think with Freddie it was that serious. It was probably a grade one, grade two, painful, lingering, problematic. But I don't think it's going to make any sort of issue for his hips, for his back. You do always worry about that, especially with older players, especially with high spin guys who are having to put so much torque on their back and their hips.
Hey, well, I want to ask you about the Dodgers pitching. So I got two here, but I'll start with Walker Buehler. He's coming off a second Tommy John surgery. It's definitely taken most of the season for him to get to a good point, but he was in a good point last time around. So what have you seen from pitchers that come back from their second Tommy John surgery? I mean, I know I've been following you in this industry long enough for you to probably cover how not many guys would make it back to even a shell of themselves, but we're seeing the second TJ happen more frequently now.
Yeah, and there's a couple things to note here. First, I don't think it's that big a factor. Walker Buehler was back at the end of last season, and they elected not to bring him back in. They said, just go have a normal offseason. Whether he did or not, he didn't come back well. I don't know that this has much to do with that Tommy John revision, that second one. It was a different kind of operation. Um, we have seen guys come back from this over and over, and it's not a problem. We're going to see Shohei Ohtani next year likely pitching. I don't see any reason why they would stop that, despite the great season he had so far. I just don't see it as a problem. Now, what was the problem for Buehler? He just lost his mechanics. I don't know that that had anything to do with Tommy John. And then he just suddenly gets them back in the playoffs. Did he need some sort of trigger? Did Mark Pryor find some magic thing? I can't imagine they didn't try every possible thing. The guy went all the way back to the minor leagues to try to put things together. I feel great for the Dodgers and for Mark and for Walker that they did all that and that he got a great start exactly when the Dodgers needed it. But I just have no idea what it was that suddenly clicked because you guys know they were fighting this all year long.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's why Buehler was a question mark when we came into the playoffs. Will he get starts? What's his role going to be? And here he is. He's pitched pretty well for him down the stretch here. So let me ask you, well, have you seen Tony Clark's comments about pitchers' injuries and what he said about what do you think about that? Because one thing I hate more than anything I've said it a million times is we can't just keep changing rules. We got to figure out a better way to treat people like human beings and not robots. This isn't fantasy baseball where every pitcher can throw 7 games in a 7-game series. So what's the solution to this whole thing? I know it's like, wow, right? But there's got to be a solution
to fix this whole thing.
Yeah, but Tony Clark just had some interesting stuff.
I think what we have to do is get serious about this. We have to stop saying, we're just going to let these guys go. I mean, it's not showing over my shoulder. But back in 2004, I wrote a book called Saving the Pitcher. This is not new. We've gone from the extremes where at Baseball Prospectus, we had to invent a stat called pitcher abuse points because guys are going 150, 160 pitches. Now, nobody goes 100. You were talking about Garrett Cole being pulled at, 88 the other day? It's gone to the extremes. The game has really changed. Everybody's running, sprinting rather than running a marathon. And it's not like you can suddenly say, you know what, why don't you just throw 90? Judge won't hit it. It'll be fine. Because he will. We don't have, little light hitting shortstops anymore. I can remember growing up watching Ozzie Smith. The Go Crazy Folks home run was crazy because that was his only home run that year. He was not likely to take you out. We had guys like Mark Belanger and Dave Concepcion, and now every shortstop in the game will take you long on any given pitch. So there's a reason why guys are throwing 98, 99, 105. Every pitcher now is Nolan Ryan. They've got crazy fastballs. They got wipeout sliders. They've got this stuff that they've built with TrackMan. So what we have to do now is figure out if no one not named Aroldis Chapman can survive 100 miles per hour, what can we do? How can we get serious about this? What baseball needs to do is what the NFL did for concussions. They need to get serious about it. They need to put a lot of money towards research. They put almost none towards this. Yeah, things have helped. Things like internal brace for elbow surgery. We need to get very, very serious about this, all the way down to the youth level.
I love the fact that you said Aroldis Chapman is really the only one that's able to do
He's
this.
the only one.
Because he's a freak. He's a freak, and he has stayed free of those injuries, and he just keeps throwing a billion. All right, I'm going to go back to the other superstar that had Tommy John surgery. Do you believe, in your medical opinion, from what you've seen, because you're not in there every day, Shohei would have been at risk of injury had he pitched in 2 different games for an inning this series? I know Dave Roberts already said he will not pitch.
Yeah.
Do you feel like he is still in a injury window where it could set his Tommy John surgery back completely?
No. First, remember, he didn't have normal Tommy John surgery. And actually, Dr. Neil Elatrosh has been very, very dodgy about what he actually did. We know there was some sort of repair or replacement of the ligament. We know there was some sort of internal brace or something similar put in there, but we don't know the exact. There are a number of things where we're using Kevlar-like substances to augment the ligament itself, whether we're transplanting in the hamstring or the wrist tendon, as Dr. Job first did back in 1974. We're also seeing things, the Yankees team doctor, Chris Ahmad, is doing one he calls TJ3, which is 3 different types of procedures. It's repairing the ligament, it's replacing the ligament, and then he puts the piece of internal brace over it. So, it's belt and suspenders and then another belt. Is that going to hold these guys together at 105 miles an hour? I don't know. We need to figure it out. We need to do a lot more biomechanical research. We need to get a lot more studies done at the major league level. We need to make sure that, Dr. Andrews' waiting room isn't filled with 12 and 13-year-olds like it is now.
Well, I have a buddy. One day we'll get him on here. Talks about it's the hip that really leads to the elbow problems. That's a whole different story that we can dig into later. But my whole thing for not getting hurt was I would show up at your house. You'd feed me a shot from all the alcohol that you have behind you, and then nothing hurt. Yeah, so I don't know where you're located, but anytime you want to invite me over, I won't feel any pain.
I'm in Indianapolis, and come by.
Okay.
Oh,
next time in Indianapolis. Man, I was in Indianapolis all the time with my daughter, but she's not there anymore. So dang it.
You got top shelf there too.
I know. Look at all that stuff. Are you a bartender in your downtime or what?
That's the man cave.
No, I deal with injuries, so there's a lot of sadness. So
that's good.
All right, what's your favorite thing? Before I know we got to go, but what's your favorite thing back there?
Back there, well, I've got some great limited edition Oak and Barrel Apple Buzz beer, which is great. But back here, Fry Ranch whiskey, amazing, just absolutely amazing, out of Nevada.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, you gonna get a bottle?
I mean, as soon as he sends me one, I'll drink it.
Look it up. All right. Will, on our way out here, and appreciate the time, you want to let everyone know for our audience where they can get more of your content, aside from Twitter, of course, which I threw out there.
Aside from the bar, don't forget.
Aside from the bar, right.
St. Elmo's.
Yeah, if you want to
Will's buying
by.
at St. Elmo's Friday night.
Yeah, so you can find my content at undertheknife.substack.com, and you can also find more of my work on Intangible, where we're figuring out what players are clutch and what players are going to choke at intangible.co.
I love that. I love that. I'm a big believer. We all are big believer in that, and we're seeing that go down right now in the postseason. Will, thanks again for joining us. This was super informative, as always. And yeah, I think there was some positive news in that, especially for the Ohtani fans. So appreciate the time.
Anytime, guys.
Thank you. Will Carroll with us on FT, coming right back for the TV crowd. And for the YouTube crowd, we have the poll results. 78% thought that Cole should have stayed in the game. I mean, again, easy to look back, but that's what happened.
It's nice when people agree with you, though.
Kratz, did you think it was okay? 88 pitches for your big dog? No.
That's your advantage. That's your advantage.
It's not like they're the only ones that do this, though.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Every time when I went back to the Yankees, there was people in the Yankees that were like, because I went back in 19 and I just left the Rays. First thing they asked me, what's it like over at the Rays? What's it like? What do they do? So don't be that way. You have Garrett Cole. They had Tyler Glasnow in Game 6. I think it was Game 6. And they took him out. Like, learn from other people's mistakes. But then it's somewhere in between because I'm watching I'm watching the Red Sox documentary, The Comeback. It's somewhere between Grady Little leaving Pedro Martinez in there. Like, somewhere in between there is the answer.
You meant Blake Snell in Game 6, right? Not Tyler Glasnow, just because.
What did I say? I'm sorry.
You said Glasnow, but that's fine.
I meant Blake Snell. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, that was the game Justin Turner gave me COVID. But and everyone else.
Stop making out with Justin Turner.
Just during the game? It's amazing.
Yeah, during the game.
When he left, that's why. Yeah, listen, I just thought, watching it, he was pitching really well. And I would have gone hitter to hitter. As soon as someone got on, which I guess is what they did.
Well, that's what they did.
I know,
yeah.
but I just felt like, I think he was at the bottom of the order. I just thought there was a chance he was your best shot right there. Okay, now.
Tight game, like if you're cruising a little.
I mean, it wasn't like he was having high-stress innings.
Sure.
I mean, there was like 2 base runners.
Hey, I don't want to defend it. I'm just presenting the other side
because
I think it's stupid.
But that's
too.
the game nowadays,
it is.
though.
It's
but you also got to read the room. And this is what hurt the Dodgers in years past, too. Taking out guys too early, right? It hurt the Rays, like Kratz said, taking guys out sometimes when they could have kept going. And especially over a 7-game series, the less they see the bullpen, the better your advantage of those bullpen guys becomes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Plus, it saves bullets. I just think that I think that I don't know. Listen,
hey,
I'm not a big league manager. We just play one on TV.
Yep, and you picked the Dodgers. You're looking good right now.
I did pick.
You and Pat picked the Dodgers. What did you say? Dodgers in?
I said 7.
7. Okay. All right, let's get in the weeds for a few minutes here while Tom Verducci gets set up. We'll talk to him. He's covering the series, of course. So Travis Sawchik wrote an article, and he's great. He's super detailed, very smart. He's been on our show before. Wrote an article for The Score about how there's a lot of talk about what MLB payroll looks like, and there's no salary cap, and casual fans come in like, how does this all get broken down? So what he did was take MLB payroll and then factor in how teams are making money and spending it, okay? And he called it the MLB Scrooge Index. Ranked by revenue, Scrooge Index is the percentage of revenue spent on payroll. He has the Yankees at making $720 million per year, and their payroll is $376 million. He has the Dodgers. So, and I'm assuming on the payroll front, and there's other factors here. It's not just the players, right? This is what they're spending on their team, because technically people are going to look at this like these numbers are a little hot. Like for the Mets, they're not 450, but you're factoring in how much it costs to run the franchise. Yankees revenue is almost 2.5 times greater at $720 million than the 24th ranked Cleveland Guardians at $295 million. And the Guardians obviously were the, David versus Goliath in that last series. The Mets are the team that stands out here because they've got them at 441 rev, 450 payroll.
As it should be.
Mm-hmm.
As it should be. Listen, Steve Cohen wants to win. He's going all in. The Yankees, they want to win. Now, they don't match. Listen, if the Yankees had, $700 million payroll, come on. They're not going to do that. There's other things that go into it, right? But I feel like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox are the one that's a little questionable to me, but the Astros have been paying. The Cubs could spend more. The Braves spend a lot. The Phillies spend a lot. The Rangers spend a lot in one, right? The thing that stands out to me is the Mets, man. If you're a Mets fan, you got to love Steve Cohen. I mean, even John Middleton, listen, he's not going over his revenue, but it's pretty awesome when they match up a little bit better. Then you look at some teams like the Mariners, 374 to 163. Like, come on.
44% on the Scrooge Index. Scrooge Index has a lot to do with fans liking or hating who's running their franchise. It's often tied to that case because they know what's going on. They're in the market. Obviously, they don't see the books, but they understand where their team's at. Most fans, I think, are realistic on where their team's at, and this is actually a really good indicator. They want to see a healthy number in here, especially a number that's over 50%. And yeah, you're right. The Red Sox are at 40%.
How about the Cubs? 43%.
It's very low.
Red Sox, they're not a big market. Cubs aren't a big market. Come on, you made $500 million, $541 million.
But why? Like, look at who these teams have picked up. Every team had an opportunity to pick up. Not everybody had an opportunity to get Aaron Judge. Okay, I get that. He could have been drafted. He's a homegrown player from the Yankees. Everybody had an opportunity to get Juan Soto this offseason. Didn't want to give up we could be talking about the Orioles right now because they had Juan Soto in their lineup. Didn't want to give up their prospects. Mookie Betts was available out there. I get it. He got extended. He was available at some point. Didn't want to give up their prospects who are now, Connor Wong. That's all that's left in the Red Sox trade for Mookie Betts. Like, these guys were available for the most part. Teoscar Hernandez has a 1-year deal. Like, Tyler Glasnow got traded. Yes, I know he signed an extension, but he got traded to the Dodgers. Every one of these teams has an opportunity to do that. They don't want it as bad.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I don't know if they don't want it as bad.
Well, their leadership doesn't want it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Bad. I mean, not wanting it. You can't really put this on the players. Even a lot of times the GM.
No, not players.
No, he's
not
putting
players.
it on the owner.
But yeah, it's the owner though.
The Scrooge Index.
Because the GMs. I guarantee if you went to the GM of, I don't even know who it is. The GM of, pick a team. I don't know.
The Twins.
Okay, you go to Derek Falvey, right? And you say, hey, Derek, we'll give you an unlimited budget. The Twins are making $400 million. Your budget is $80 million. I guarantee he wants it to be $400 million.
Yeah, that's the point. So it's one.
So it's not really
person.
any. Yeah, there's really only 30 people you can blame for this.
Correct.
I mean, even the Braves, who are publicly traded Liberty Media, they're look how high theirs is, right? They're good. They spend.
Mm-hmm.
They rewarded their guys. That's what I think fans are looking for. John Middleton, right, with what he's doing.
See where the White Sox are at here.
Okay, so this is one thing that's interesting to me because Jerry Reinsdorf always said I break even on baseball every year.
Yeah.
Well, if you made $288 million and you spend 133 or 150, somehow. Now, I mean, I don't understand. Am I missing taxes? Am I missing something here? Because we also know this isn't their total books because
right.
We all know teams like have offshoots of everything, right?
Correct. Yes.
So I mean, if you're making 288 and you're only spending 133. That doesn't seem like you're breaking even. It seems like you're making about $150 million.
In the end of the article, in the end of Travis's article, he put down the only publicly traded company that we know besides the Blue Jays, because then they cook their books completely different, so nobody can see it because it's up in Canada. The Braves, we see their financials, and they're at like a 4.8% profit each year. Which, if you're talking about owning like a big mega company, that's not great profit. So they're showing that you're not technically business-wise, you're not making a huge profit, but you're accruing your assets during that entire time and growing that huge, huge network of what the team is, let alone the fact you own a team. The point is to win, not to turn like a 20% profit every year.
Yeah, but here's the thing, that 4.8% you're talking about, that doesn't include everything. That only includes what they, there also is an offshoot, maybe Braves parking, the Battery parking, or the Omni Hotel. That's not included. Even though Liberty is yes, they're showing us their books. They're not showing you everything.
No.
Right? Because I remember I played for the Giants.
Yeah.
And they said before the season started, the whole payroll and everything was already paid for from just the signage and the ad stuff they had in the ballpark.
Yep.
And then so they still got parking from a different company, concessions from a different company, this from a different company, this from a different company. So they were like, oh, we're breaking even. No, you're actually making a lot of money. It's just not in this. So what the teams do is they take this much and say, this is our budget, and then they get their profit from somewhere else. So then they can tell the fans, oh, I'm breaking even, when really we're not.
Correct. Yeah.
So
you're
it's all
talking
a
about
show game.
just it is.
It's like every big business. So they all do it.
Yeah.
Every business,
Finagling.
even small businesses do it. They try to move stuff around to try to make it to where they have to do less.
Yeah, and there's obviously there's TV money, national, local. There's gate, and then yes, you get into a lot of specifics. Teams often will invest in a property or something around the ballpark, put that on the team. Then once it's in a good spot, you branch that off. Now it's its own business. Yeah, there's a lot of craftiness involved. And the moral of the story always is the same, that you're going to have fans complaining this time of year, and they're right, most of them. You do deserve a better situation. And I just always hope that we continue to get in a better situation with the next leadership that is taking over teams that get bought. I mean, here's the job for the league. Because I will say this, like Commissioner Manfred and the rest of the league, they can't control who is owning these teams and who's making decisions. But what they can do is have a big say on where the next owner comes from, right? Because it's got to get approved. They can talk to the rest of the owners. Hey, this is a good guy to have. Because you want people like Steve Cohen, Mark Walter for the Dodgers.
But some of them don't want those guys in. Steve Cohen was a hard sell.
They make them look bad.
Yes,
Correct.
So it's a hard sell. Like they're like, oh, we'll take Bob Nutting.
But it's so much better for business.
It is.
But
the owners are like, oh, we can get Bob Nutting in here, and he won't spend, and he'll make all this profit, and he'll make the rest of us look great because we're outspending him.
You have a battle right now with half the league feeling that way and half the league like, hey, we're billionaire businessmen, first generation. We know how this gets done. It's about the long game, not about counting pennies. So it's a big deal. You make your money in over the long haul.
Correct. Right? Like over the long haul. 4.8%. If you're making $500 million, that's still a lot of money.
It's good dough.
It's not like you're like, oh, but you're pinching pennies over there.
Yes.
Right. So you're making 5% on $500 million. It's $25 million.
There's a good battle going on behind the scenes. Yeah. And at some point we'll cover it in depth. So, all right, let's step aside for a moment here. Let's get back to the series. Tom Verducci working the sidelines, just like Ken Rosenthal. We're excited to talk to Tom about what he's seeing so far. Of course, I want to ask him about Judge and his ABs. He's got a front row seat. All right, like I said, FT fam, we'll take your questions. If you have any for Tom, I'm looking while we're talking to him. And then also, of course, we'll get to some of these as the show keeps rolling on. So Justin said, is Freddie Freeman World Series MVP right now? I mean, it's early.
Right now he is.
Yeah,
two homers in 2 games.
Hell yeah.
I mean, of course he is. I mean, one of them's a walk-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if Tommy Edmonds gets 2 hits in the next 2 games and they sweep it? So he's four multi-hit games
hits total.
I mean, ifs and buts.
2 hits in each game, like he's done.
Oh, 2 hits. Yeah.
Yeah, but ifs and buts, we know that saying. But
right.
I mean, right now, we're talking right now.
You can't do anything else.
Freeman.
Yeah, right now it's Freddie. Exactly. So I think that one's pretty easy. What else we got here? Bourbon and baseball. Can you ask what a modality is? Who said that? Will, smart guy.
Yeah.
I think that was the first time we had him on, right?
The first time he's been on with me.
Yeah. I've been following his content for a long time now. Very smart on that category.
By the way, I got to ask this, and I know we're in break right now. When are we going to discuss Michael Kopech calling me out? Are we going to do that on the TV show?
Did that happen?
On the break show?
That only happened in Europe. That only happened in Europe.
That didn't happen. That was just fake. That was just fake.
Yes.
I feel like Michael Beer.
Let's
Michael Beer might have egged him on a little bit. So we're gonna at some point. Maybe we can do that in Slap Hands. We can get into that.
Okay, let's do that during Slap Hands.
Because there's some things we need to discuss about this.
I love the YouTube fam, but that also deserves a little television love.
Yeah.
So we'll hit it in Slap Hands. Deal. Actually, here I'm producing the show as we go here to everyone. That plus let's get Kratz's tweet from what was that yesterday? About Judgy coming back. That got a lot of attention too. We'll slice that one up during Slap as well, okay? But give us about 30 seconds. Tom Verducci's in the green room. We'll talk to him about what he's seeing right now on the field in this series. Back with the great Tom Verducci, working the field for Fox. Hey, you want to say hi to Tom?
Hi, Tom. Miss you, pal.
Yeah, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Great. Appreciate the time.
Hold on, before we dig in, I have to ask him. I have to ask him this question because obviously we have Ken on twice a week, and then this is the second time we've had Tom on that I know.
Second or third, yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so when you guys go into the truck, because as Scott knows, and I don't know if Kratz, people out there, before you do a show, before you do a game, you go into the truck, right? The production truck, and everyone's sitting in there, and you kind of have like a 5 to 10 minute conversation about the open, and then Tom's like, well, I got this great story on Judge, and Ken's like, I got this great story on Ohtani, and then da-da-da. So when you guys go into the truck, who gets first dibs on the story? Is it you or Ken?
I don't think it works that way, AJ. I think what we do is we both send in a boatload of notes, right? And we know like maybe 1% of those things are actually going to get on air. So we just hand in our notes and just wing it as the day goes by. Hopefully they get some stories in, but it's not really a pecking order. What's interesting too is that Kenny obviously is on the Dodgers side, I'm on the Yankees side of this series, but it's not like we're limited to any one of those teams, right? If he's got a good story in the Yankees, go ahead and tell it, and vice versa for me too. So it works really well.
And if you haven't seen it, they both send you notes like it's like half an inch thick, like before every game.
Oh yeah,
literally, like you get so when you walk in, you get like a folder, right? And it was Tyler. Tyler was our girl in the DS, and she just hands you a folder like this, and it's just full. Like this is small, but it's just like of
notes
everybody's notes. Like everybody wants to throw their notes in there, and so it takes like an hour to skim them, and then you're like, oh yeah, there's something good.
I love it. It's important though. I mean, as a play-by-play guy, I know what Tom's bringing to the table, right? If he's working on the field, if there's a relevant time that, might lead into a good nugget that Tom wants to throw in there. So let's get to that right now. I mean, let's just start with, in my mind, the headliner. Do you think Aaron Judge can turn this around really quickly? And is there any similarity to what you're seeing here versus what he did in April, Tom?
Yeah, on both counts too. In April, it really took until May 5th. He actually changed his stance. He moved his feet so that he was more neutral in his setup. He had set up open stance and was just getting wiped out on pitches away. Didn't feel like he could reach them. So he comes in for this game against Detroit, and Tarek Skubal closed up his stance to be not a closed stance, but more neutral with his feet. Hit a home run, and he just went off right away. So I always feel like Aaron, who, yes, he's deep in the mechanical weeds sometimes, but he goes a lot by feel. And he is one hitter, more so than most hitters, who's always one swing away. That's the way I feel about Aaron Judge right now. But he's got a long way to go right now, guys. If you look at his chase rate, it has gone up with each successive series of the postseason, from LDS to LCS and now to World Series. What does that tell me? This slump thing is weighing on him. There's no doubt about it. You saw it in Game 2. When I saw him take a 2-0 heater from Yamamoto right down the middle, classic case of a guy who's caught in between. He's looking for things that aren't there. He's late on velocity. He's early on spin. He's definitely chasing outside of the strike zone more. His 3 strikeouts in Game 2 were all outside of the strike zone. He's only done that 16 times in his career. So there's no doubt. And listening to Aaron after the game, and give him credit, he stands in front of his locker, faces the music, answers the same question over and over and over again. But he must have used the words "got to" about 15 times. I've got to do this. I've got to stop chasing. I've got to pick up my teammates. There's no question he's feeling the responsibility of not just being a great player, but the emotional linchpin of this team. He's their captain. They look for him when times are good, when times are bad. And right now, he's not giving him anything. And you can tell he feels really, really badly about it. And he's going to continue to see spin on top of spin on top of spin. He's not getting 48% fastballs like he did in the regular season. They hit 58 home runs.
You sat down with him for a one-on-one before the series, correct? Where you guys were not even sat down. You were on the field and did kind of like reporting. I mean, just the two of you?
Well, that wasn't me. I did talk to him off camera, but not on the one-on-one camera. That might have been Derek, actually. Might have got a hold of him one-on-one. He's got pretty good access, by the way.
Okay, so
Jeter.
What would you have asked him going into this series? Or what did you ask him going into this series? Because just like a new month, every time, or even a new week, things reset. I know I didn't do really good in the previous games, but I'm resetting. What did you hear from him before this series started, and has any of it come to fruition in this series so far?
Well, he doesn't give much away. As Anthony Rizzo said, Aaron Judge is a brick wall, right? So my question would be, getting to the World Series, which is what you've always wanted to do, and it's the reason you re-signed with the Yankees. Yeah, that's the stadium and all that, but he wants his legacy to be made in pinstripes, and there's nothing bigger in Aaron Judge's mind, most players' minds, than winning championships for the Yankees. Now he finally gets there, right? He's not a young guy. He's 31, 32 years old. How do you treat this first opportunity in the World Series? We all hear players say, treat it like any other game. Can you really do that? And Aaron will not give anything away. He won't tell you, he's going to try harder or, put in more work before a game. He's going to treat it like another game, but it's clearly not, right? And I think as this thing starts to expand, this slump, and it's not just this year, obviously, it's the whole postseason resume. I don't know if he would admit it, and he did say it's eating at him, but I don't know how much this has bled into his actual work in the batter's box in game time. Can he clear his mind in that batter's box? As Giancarlo Stanton said, when you're going like this, you have to shrink that strike zone to microscopic size. Whatever you think it is, make it so much smaller. Take your walks. At the risk of getting punched out once. That wouldn't be a terrible thing for me to see Aaron Judge get called on a strike three. If it's not a pitch he can hit, if it's a borderline pitch, I'd rather see him do that than trying to hit these sliders that, are a foot and a half off the outside corner.
You've been in a lot of these. You've been in foul territory, not the sideline, foul territory for a lot of these games. How do you think Yankee fans are going to greet him tonight, and how should they greet him?
This is a nervous crowd tonight. Yankee Stadium is a tremendous home field advantage. I think they win like 64, 65% of postseason games at home, World Series games. Average is like 54%. So there's a premium. When you're playing for the Yankees at home, you have a bigger home field advantage. The flip side to that is you're down 2-0. They need something really good to happen early in this game. And if they fall behind early, if Aaron Judge punches out his first couple of times up, you're going to hear the anxiety in their voices. So it can flip to you against you as well. So Judge especially needs something good to happen. They'll be all behind him that first day of the game. There's no question about it, because Yankee fans know they need this guy to be right for this team to win the World Series. They're not winning the World Series unless Aaron Judge gets himself straightened out. They know that. They'll be behind him when this game starts. If it starts to go the other way again, then it's a different story. Then I think you'll hear that anxiety from the Yankee crowd.
Tom, two things. One, old Yankee Stadium seemed way more of an advantage than the new one. I mean, the new one's beautiful. Listen, I played in some playoff games in old Yankee Stadium. Those people were on top of you. They were crazy, and it just seemed like a different vibe. I mean, I know they won in 2009 in the new place, and the new place is unbelievable. But let me tell you, in 2002 or 2003 when we played there and we were with the Twins, I mean, it was like, holy crap, these people are – it felt like the upper deck was on your head as you're playing there. So to me, that's changed. But let me ask you this. Let's say it doesn't go right tonight, right? They fall behind. Buehler pitches well. Schmidt gets banged around a little bit, and they fall behind. Will this crowd just turn? And then how much of this falls on Aaron Boone versus Aaron Judge, one of the Aarons, right? Both of them are awesome guys. But how much heat is Booney going to take if they don't win this? Because people are already talking about oh, man, he's on the hot seat. Why? This guy wins every year.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the crowd will turn a little bit, especially if they don't play a clean game. And let's face it, the Yankees, their path to victory to me is through power. They make a lot of mistakes on the bases. They make a lot of mistakes defensively. You saw that in game one. There was at least 3 or 4 mistakes that were made in the course of that game that cost them. Every 90 feet in the postseason can be a difference maker. You saw that in game one. They tend to overcome their mistakes with home runs, but when they don't, they look bad. And if the Yankees look bad falling behind in game 3, the crowd is definitely going to let all of them know about that. And right now they're not in love with Aaron Boone, especially because of the decision in game 1 to put the game in the hands of Nestor Cortes. I didn't have a huge problem with it. I understand that. I actually asked Aaron Boone the day before the series began, because this to me is the biggest thing. When you face the Dodgers, you look at Ohtani and you say, who's going to get Ohtani out late in the game? Every manager has to have that guy. Mike Shildt in San Diego had Tanner Scott. That was obvious. The Mets had nobody to control Ohtani, and that showed up. And I didn't see anybody really who jumped out to me on this Yankee staff, other than Weaver. We know you want your closer on anybody. But, he told me he liked Nestor on Ohtani. And I thought about Tim Hill, but he said, Tim Hill's got that two-seamer that runs right into the happy zone of Ohtani. and he's not a swing and miss guy, and the ball's going to be put in play. So he wanted Nestor, I think, in part because Manaea looked a little good against Ohtani, at least the first time he saw him in daytime. Ohtani looked really uncomfortable. So I think he was looking at some of the funkiness of Nestor, and Nestor never got a chance to do anything else in terms of arm angle. One pitch, game over to Freeman. But with Ohtani, I think that to me really concerned me about not having that one guy you really want to match up to, because it starts early. I mean, I'm talking fifth, sixth inning, that second or third jam in a game when, it's not Clark Schmidt's spot to get him a third time. You better get somebody else in there. Who is that guy? So Boone has definitely had some heat. This happens this time of year with all managers. I get it. A lot of people are talking about the lineup. Do you flip-flop Soto and Judge? On paper, to me, that's not really a bad idea. I mean, it makes it harder for Dave Roberts to come in with his right-handed power guys to match up later in the game, just to give a different look to the lineup. I like the idea of protecting of Aaron with Judge with Soto behind him. I don't think he's going to do it, though, because it's probably not the kind of signal that Aaron Boone wants to send to his guys that, we're really in trouble. I have to start messing with my best hitters in the lineup. So I understand that. But you're right. It's a good point that, the Yankee fans, if this game is, they're chasing 2 or 3 mid-game, I'm telling you, it's going to be an anxious ballpark.
And what do you think about the starting pitching the next couple days here? Because that was looked at as an edge for the Yankees, and I tried to remind everyone it was looked at as an edge for 1 through 4, right? Clark Schmidt and Luis Gil have good stuff. So do you think that they've got an edge the next couple days versus what you saw from Buehler last time around and the bullpen here coming up?
I think it's probably a wash. And you're right about Clark Schmidt, by the way. He's got really good stuff. What the Dodgers have done these first 2 games, they have absolutely destroyed fastballs. And I was talking to Freddie Freeman about this. The Dodgers in the previous 3 postseasons hit .213 against velocity, against fastballs. .213. They changed their approach. Going to the postseason this year, they said, we are going to jump into the high-velocity cage. We're going to get on traject and dial it up. We're going to hunt fastballs early in the count, especially guys like Manaea, Rodon, Cole, who are going to use their fastballs up. That allows them to stay off-speed chase because you're not looking down and away off speed. You're looking up, and if it's not there, you're taking that. So it's actually made them more disciplined. They're not letting fastballs go by. You saw that in Game 2. They just walloped Rodon, getting ahead of the count on fastballs. They had 7 hits off fastballs in that game. Schmidt is a different kind of beast. I mean, he's not going to throw anything straight. He's going to be 80% spin. I'm using cutters as spin too. So it's cutters, sliders, sweepers. It's a different game plan they're going to have against Clark Schmidt. They can't just just hunt fastballs. It's just not going to happen. So far, they're slugging 800 on fastballs. They're going to have to find another way tonight. I think he's a tough solve for them. And again, he's not going to be there a third time around. So I think Clark Schmidt will pitch well for 4 or 5 innings. And I'd say the same about Walker Buehler. And you guys have seen Walker. He doesn't have that fastball anymore that he can just blow by people. But he knows how to pitch. He knows how to control the big moments. You saw that against New York, against the Mets in the LCS. What was it, 4 innings? Took him 90-something pitches. But he made every pitch he had to make, including a bases loaded 3-2 curveball to Francisco Lindor. So he's more of a craft guy now than he is a power guy. And he manages big games really, really well. So I think the game will probably play out to be pretty much of a draw through the first 4 and 5. And then it becomes a manager's game. And these are always fascinating, guys. As you know, you get to 3, 4, 5. It's the one time in the series you're playing 3 straight days. And it becomes all about bullpen usage. You've already, shot your number 1 guy, your starting pitcher. You're into the back of your rotation and dipping into your bullpen probably 3 straight days. These become manager games.
All right, Tom, before we let you go, I got 2 questions for you. One, do we go back to LA? Do you go back to LA? Because I'm not going anywhere. So are you going back to LA for this to finish?
Yeah, I think so. I thought going in this was a 7-game series. Didn't think, the Dodgers would really look this good in the first 2 games. But yes, I think the Yankees will find a way to win 2 out of 3 in New York.
Okay, and my last thing before we let you go is, what's the suit tonight? Like what kind of plaid, with the perfect pocket square and the perfect V-shaped tie do we have planned for the next 3 nights?
Yeah, you always got to be careful in the postseason because you don't want to wear the colors of the teams that are playing. So thankfully, there's basically blue and blue. So you can't be, accused of being partisan here. So it'll be something blue. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. Then everyone will be like, wow, Tom loves our team.
Yes,
Tom
loves both teams. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, we did a segment on that once. It's true. I mean, especially when you're on the road for a while, Tom knows. Yeah, you got to make sure you've got your
times,
suit
guys,
game.
where there's been times where I forgot about it, and say you're doing the
Mhm.
Phillies, and you got a red tie, and you're like, oh my gosh, because right away that's what people are going to go to. Oh, he's a Phillies fan. I knew it all along. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like
By
the
the way-
tie is the giveaway.
By the way, if people that don't know this, Tom is a workout animal, by the way.
Mhm.
Like he goes out and runs like a marathon before every game, and then he'll be in the gym working out for like 2 hours. So, and then he eats like only salad. Like it's unbelievable. Like when I'm around Tom Verducci, I'm like, man, I'm a less of a human being right now because the way he dresses, the way he works out, and the way he eats, I'm just like. And then he puts these notes out there. I'm like, man, I need to clean up my
It's
life.
the way I aspire to be, for my whole life. It's funny. I swear, I know Tom's got to jump, but I was talking to my dad about it the other day, and I was like, I used to work with Tom a lot at MLB. Tom knows. Dan O'Dowd's like this too. I mean, they do it right. You eat right, you work out every day, the whole deal, and you feel good. So Tom's like, yep, I'll take it.
No, I will. I just got to say, there are certain World Series that, stand out to me. And this is one I really feel privileged to cover. I really do. And, I was talking to Mookie Betts on the field after they won the NLCS about 43 years since the Dodgers played the Yankees in the World Series. And I'm thinking, Mookie really has no idea what this rivalry is like. I'm old enough to remember the 70s and the 81 series and stuff. And I always thought it'd be cool to cover one of these things because of how big it is historically in baseball. So, whether you're young, whether you're old, I think people should really appreciate. We're lucky to have this World Series. And that's why, getting back to what you're asking, AJ, I really root for long series anyway, but especially this one, because unless it goes 6, you can't really have a great series historically. And we have everything in place to have a great series. We just need the length now. And that's, people say, what are you rooting for? I'm rooting for Game 7.
Yeah,
we all are.
A couple things.
And by the way,
I
want to add to what Tom's saying though.
Yeah.
Like when people on like social media are like, "Oh, this series is going to suck because it's big markets." No, this is what we want. The ratings have been through the roof because they're two unbelievable teams.
Yes.
You got the two biggest stars of the game, right? Judge and Ohtani going against each other. I mean, I know they're not literally going, but you know what I mean. They're in these series, and you're throwing Soto, throwing Betts, you're throwing Freeman, you're throwing the pitchers from Yamamoto, Garrett Cole. Right? Like this is what you want. As a baseball fan, this is what I want to see, the two best teams from the regular season going head to head in the World Series. And guess what we got? This. And now everyone's complaining, oh, we want the underdog. Screw that. I want the two best teams to play and see who wins.
Yes. And we've gone over it, especially when it's not a case of these two teams meeting up all the time. Like
No.
Tom said, the rarity of it, appreciate it. I'm doing it for sure. And I hope that it goes the distance. But we'll see what happens. I mean, if they lose tonight, the Yanks, then usually we see sweeps after that point. So Tom, enjoy it. Yeah, like you're saying, soak it all in. We'll watch you on Fox. And also just wanted to give a quick plug. The Book of Joe with Joe Madden and Tom Verducci. Check out the podcast. They did a really good World Series preview. We've had Joe on recently. So Tom, thank you so much. Enjoy it.
Yeah, keep up the great work, guys. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Tom Verducci. You'll hear him tonight, of course, with Joe Davis, John Smoltz, and Ken Rosenthal on Fox. All right, so I want to do a follow-up to something that Tom said. So Judge, Soto, lineup, flip it. Why not?
No.
Player perspective, why not?
They're not changing them. They've hit there the whole year.
So what? I don't give a crap.
Not switching it.
You know
Why
what?
are you going to switch it?
Why not? Because strategically it might make more sense.
No.
I want to do whatever's necessary to win the game.
Strategically, that's why they've been getting Judge out, because of strategy. Like you're like, oh, he's in his head. He's in his head. So
Let's hit him ninth. Let's hit him ninth.
Let's
I'm just
move
saying,
him around.
flipping him one spot, you know?
No.
Doesn't
You
get
just
him
have to
any
do-
different pitches.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so you don't agree with what he said with how it would affect bullpen management on the other side?
How?
Because
How would it affect it? Yeah, more righties in a row then.
no, it'd be the same. Right now it's G and Judge. So he's saying that.
No, but
it
I'm
would
saying, if
split
he's
up.
saying put Judge in front of Soto, is if you look at the bottom of the order, that's what I'm talking about. Like if you look, because you have Torres leading off, right? and then you had, depending on who's hitting ninth for that game.
Yep.
Right. So then you would have that pocket of righties. Then you have the one lefty for Soto, and then you have to have Wells in there somewhere. Right. So it doesn't really change much. Listen to how they're going to pitch Aaron Judge. They're going to show him a heater, which the Dodgers have done a great job of this the first two games. They show him a heater up, and they buzz him either up and in, or they run him a sinker in on his hands, back him up, and then they go wink, 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 wink. And Judge is anxious, and he swings at him and misses. Right?
Yeah.
So at some point, if I'm Aaron Judge, I'm going up there one at bat. Maybe it's the first at bat. And I'm saying, okay, Buehler's going to try to run a sinker in or up on me. I'm putting all my chips in, and I'm going to hit one 7 miles. Like I remember Gary Sheffield faced Bobby Jenks one time in Old Yankee Stadium, hit one out of the stadium first pitch. And this is when Jenks was throwing a legit 100. And he went, what? And Bobby Jenks like, I ain't throwing him a heater again. Right? But get him out of there. At some point, you just got to say, I'm getting him out of there. And I think Judge needs to take one at bat. If there's 2 outs, nobody on the first inning, taking it back and say, you know what, I'm getting him out of there. I'm clearing it. I'm cheating. Yep. I'm getting it out of there, and I'm going to try to hit a home run in the left field bleachers.
Right, but he is swinging, and then Tom said maybe shrink the zone too and get on base.
That's what I'm saying. Give him away. Say, I'm not swinging anything away. I'm just going to look in. Because Judge's strength is in if you make that mistake.
Yep.
Right? But right now, he's just so out there. Right? That's when you start chasing is when you start, if you look away, then you start chasing away. Look in and change something.
Yep. Hey, check out the FT Leadoff newsletter. It is available 3 times per week during the World Series, during the entire month of October. A lot of hustling going on behind the scenes to make it happen. It is free. Scan the QR code on your screen to make it happen. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, also hit a little subscribe for us, like the video, and drop a question to us if you're watching after the fact, and we'll try and give you a little answer. So let's look ahead. Let's check out this game. And I'm actually going to bring up Kratz's tweet right now because it got a ton of attention. Hundreds of thousands of views, hundreds of responses talking about Judgy. Okay? He's doing his Trey Turner Philly version of what Aaron Judge could experience. And you could say it's silly. It's not silly because it's happened before. Judge has been booed at Yankee Stadium multiple times, including this season in April when he was struggling coming off the year that he did. Of course, last year missing, about half the year due to injury, but was awesome when he was on the field. The year before, historic. So anyway, here's the tweet from Kratz. Tomorrow night, as in now, tonight, during player intros, Yankee Stadium cheers should never be louder than when Judge gets introduced. He has given so much to Yankee fans. It's time to give him all you have. Kratz, you want to give us any background here on why you felt like you wanted to throw it out there and anything that stood out in terms of the reply?
I woke up early on Sunday morning and I was just it was one of the first things I thought of. Obviously in these games, I truly could care less who wins. It's more of like my friends, guys I played with and stuff. And I woke up, made pancakes for my family. And I remember I was sitting down and I was like the family hadn't even been out yet. So the pancakes were hot and I was sitting there eating by myself. And I go, this is like it was just eating at me that, I know Yankee fans want to boo him. And I know Yankee fans are angry. And booing is kind of it's whatever. You can argue about booing till you're blue in the face. To me, this is an opportunity for Yankee fans to actually help your team win. You have an advantage. You just heard it from Tom Verducci. 63% victories in Yankee Stadium, old and new Yankee Stadium. This is an opportunity to help. So if you truly want your team to win a World Series and you just don't want to live in the mire of not having a World Series victory in 15 years, then yeah, go ahead and boo him. But if you want to help him, don't boo him. Cheer him. And when he strikes out, because he will at some point, cheer him even louder because that will help him. I promise that will not hurt him. The other way, it may not affect him, but there's a good chance it will.
Do you have anything on the psychology there? Because obviously you thrived off the road crowd, so you might be a little bit different.
No, I think they're going to cheer him no matter what. Now, listen, if he goes up and punches out on 3 pitches his first at bat, they're going to get restless. And Tom said it, and we've talked about it. And do I think it's right? No. But it's what fans do. And I've been booed at home. I've been booed on the road. I've been booed everywhere you can possibly be booed, which is fine. But I think Aaron Judge, because of the years he's had and just the amount of collections he's put into the bank, right? Like the savings he's put into the bank, he deserves better than this. Now, if he goes up there and hits a home run his first at bat, Yankee fans are going to be like, he's back, we're saved. The world is right? Like Derek on our show. Oh, man, Judge is back. Thank you, Jesus. Right? But if he goes out and strikes out, they're going to be like, oh, the worst sky is falling, Chicken Little style. But it's one at bat. Like, let's see what happens. Because, yes, Aaron Judge is struggling. Yes, they need him to be better. But they also need some other dudes to come up with some hits, too. Because in our runners in scoring position, the whole team has been bad. Not just Aaron Judge. It's been the whole team. So, yes, when you're the star, you get everything pointed at you. You're the captain. You're the star. Boom, boom, boom. All the spotlight. Listen, it's like a double-edged sword as a superstar, right? You get all the perks. You get the money. You get all the free stuff. You get the lights, and you get the world of New York is open to you, right? Things go wrong. Guess what? You get the other side, and that's where it gets tough. But I don't see Aaron Judge as someone that's going to back away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Kratz played with him. I've just known from talking to him. He seems like about as even keel as you can get. Does it bother you though? Of course it bothers you. But at the same time, I know from watching Aaron Judge now for almost 10 years that he's going to just kind of go through it, and he's doing the best he can. It's not like he's not trying.
Of course.
It's not like he's not hustling. It's not like he's it's not like he's not working on it. Just sometimes you just have bad times.
Yeah,
and
but
it just seems to happen to him in the postseason.
Yeah.
I know. It just sucks that it seems to happen to him in the postseason.
And sure, the rest of the lineup needs to contribute, but he's up towards the top of the order. He's getting more of the ABs. He's in front of the guy who gets on base all the freaking time. Like, you're not delivering. And I get it. It's a small amount of games where it looks like a huge slump, but this is the postseason.
Let me ask you guys, let me ask Kratz this mainly. How much of this do you think, as you know, as a catcher and as a player, when you play through 162 games, right? You get those at-bats against guys that are 4 or 5 starters, weak underbelly relievers, not the A relievers. And that's when you get that at bat and you hit a home run and you're like, oh, I'm back. I figured something out. Even though it wasn't against like an A reliever, right? And then you're like, all of a sudden your confidence kicks in and you're like, I'm back, baby. I'm back, right? In the playoffs, you don't get that at bat because you're seeing their best 3 or 4 starters. For the Dodgers, you're seeing their best 3 starters. And then the fourth game, you're getting their best right-handed reliever almost every time in every situation that comes up. You don't get that at bat to take, all right, I'm facing the guy throwing 92. Whew, let me take a deep breath. Oh, boom, there it is, a base hit or a home run to right field in Yankee Stadium. Now, he might run into one tonight, but you know what I'm saying, right, Kratz? There isn't that break you get in you're facing a team that's in the middle of a 20-game-in-a-row stretch, right? And you're their 13th game in a row, and they've won 4 in a row, and all their A bullpen guys are used up, so they're just trying to get through the game, and they have a guy maybe from AAA up, and he's out there going, oh, my God, I'm facing Aaron Judge. A black homer, right? Those games don't exist in the postseason.
AJ is not at all saying that Aaron Judge only hits homers
No.
and fives. He is saying that the opportunity, to me, I call this the Coors Field effect. The fact that you go to Coors Field and you just get a couple knocks. You get jammed. You get one off the end because the outfielders, have so much room to roam. Now you come out of there, you're 2 for 4 in your last game. I get it. The Coors Field effect doesn't affect you when you go to Dodger Stadium, but your confidence affects you. Your confidence of, I turned it around, 2 for 4. You probably don't even remember what kind of hits you got. Maybe in the moment you're like, oh, man, it's a lucky hit. I'm still not out of it. Never
have I ever said that's a lucky hit. I don't care what it is. Every hit counts.
Every hit counts. So when you get those opportunities to get a hit, that gets you hot because you're going into Dodger Stadium and you're facing prime Clayton Kershaw. You're going into different places. The difference is you don't have a chance to breathe here. He might face, we haven't even really seen that much of Kasperius in the Dodgers bullpen, but you might get to face the guy. Just drop my pelota. But you sit there and you go, there's no time to breathe. And this is why I truly believe, because I've I've laid there at night when I've been struggling and thinking, I may never get another hit. I feel like I'm letting my teammates down. I feel like I'm letting my fans down. I feel like I'm letting my family down. So just a little thing for Yankee fans to do is to get behind him and let him know, because this is what I heard Trey say about when the fans got behind him. It was nice to know that nobody was truly against him. He knew his family was behind him. He knew his teammates are behind him. You just never know. Are the fans really behind you? Like, I've been struggling for, 3 weeks of a postseason now? I've done so much for this team, this fan base. Are they really behind me or are they not? And this is a show, an opportunity to show and to help this guy continue to be part of their family as fans of the Yankees. And that's really where the tweet came about.
Yeah, and I'll bring it down to someone else who's been struggling and who's early on in his career, because it was just reported that he'll sit, or at least to start the game. So Buster Olney was saying Jose Trevino over Austin Wells for this game 3 at catcher. And Mike Petriello actually brought up an interesting point. He's like, Ohtani's not going to be running in this game, so where's the Dodgers run game?
Why?
You think he's going to steal bases with the same aggression?
Why not?
Oh, well, that's what he brought up.
He slid incorrectly. You shouldn't slide with your hand down. He just slides with his hands up.
I'm gonna ask this question, and this is not a knock on Austin Wells. I think he's going to be a hell of a player, and he was a great guest when he came on here. But everyone is counting on Austin Wells to hit fourth behind. He was hitting fourth behind Aaron Judge for a while, and he was hot. He was hot for like a month there, right? But look at his numbers for the year. He was an average player. 718 OPS for the year. He was 103 OPS plus this year. Had under a 400 slug for the year. So I think there's a little bit that was unfair to put Austin Wells is a generational talent at this point. Now, maybe 2 years from now, he might be that guy. But to put him in that situation because he got hot for a month is tough, right?
Any young catcher,
that's what I'm saying.
You guys know this, yes.
And I'm not again,
also, 103 is above average because catchers' average OPS plus is much lower. It's probably like 80.
But again, I'm just saying. But they were Yankees fans were acting like Austin, and they were like, he's going to win the Rookie of the Year. I'm like, he's not going to win Rookie of the Year. I mean, he had a nice little run there. He got off to a bad start, got on a great run to get it back to where he was, which is great for Austin Wells. But Yankee fans are like, Austin Wells ain't my Judge. That's the answer. Listen, that's a lot of. I was like, take it from a guy who hit behind Barry Bonds, right? You don't understand. Like, until you are that guy, and I only did it for like half a year because they're like, all right, we're gonna put Edgardo Alfonso, which I was like, thank you, Jesus, because every time I came up to bat, Barry Bonds was standing on first, and he wasn't stealing. So if I hit a ground ball, that was a double play.
Yeah. And
every time in San Francisco, you didn't get a hit, and they walk Barry Bonds. Boo! Damn, I had a pretty good year. I don't understand, but it's just the way it is, right? So I think that was, they moved him out of there. Now they're playing Trevino, which great. Aaron Boone's trying something different, right? Maybe it's a Clark Schmidt, Jose Trevino thing. I don't know, but I don't know. I just thought that was a little bit unfair to throw Austin Wells, and then all of a sudden, he starts struggling, and people are like, "Oh, Austin Wells, he's terrible." No, he's going to be a really good player. Let's just give him some time, give him some breathing room. Let's not hit him fourth behind Aaron Judge.
Also, look at the catcher stats in the playoffs in general. We've covered this a couple times.
Yeah.
Not many catchers hitting in the postseason, whether you've been in the league for
Will Smith, we talked about
or
it.
5 years. Yeah.
Francisco Alvarez wasn't good. JT struggled.
We can't all be good. We can't all be good postseason performers.
It's great. That's true. I agree. We can't
all be. It's okay.
Honestly, that's why we picked you guys. That's why you guys are leading the way here. Yeah. There's not many quarterbacks that are on the field that also can perform in October. And you guys can talk about it. Not many can.
I'm looking at my stolen base props now. All Dodger blue coming up. All Dodger blue here.
Can I change my predictions?
You think they're going to amp it up for real? You think they'll amp up their stolen base game if they're on now to try and create a little more on the bases against Trevino, being that he has had struggles this year with runners in his arm?
Yes.
Okay.
Pre-game meeting, 100% talked about.
What do we know? What people are against him? Schmidt stolen bases. I know Trevino was bad.
You caught him.
I thought Clark
plate.
was pretty good. Let me check.
Okay.
I will just search for you.
And what are we thinking while he does that with this pitching matchup? So Schmidt's got to save their season. And even if, like Tom Verducci mentioned, it's somewhat of a wash and you get to the battle of bullpens, okay. But can't have a clunker.
No.
And can you make
literally,
the case,
when people are like, this is a must-win?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. But on the other side, too, can you make the case that the Dodgers bullpen's pretty damn good? It's definitely not overtaxed by any means. They're coming off an off day. He's not going to be shy there. I mean, the game might be decided in the first few innings. Can the Yankees actually...
Yankees have to score first.
Score first, but even for me, like, can you put a crooked number up?
Here's the thing. If the Dodgers score first, we talked about Yankee Stadium turning, you will feel pressure. Like, it'll feel like just a meteor is sitting on top of Yankee Stadium. Like, the world, because those fans are going to get restless and they're going to just be waiting. Let's say the Dodgers go out and score 2 in the first, right? I don't know. However, we want to do it.
Sure.
And all of a sudden it's 2-0 in the first. The weight of the world will be on the Yankees.
I think if the Yanks, have an RBI single or a sac fly or something like that, it's if they get a multi-run homer early, the place will go insane. That's what they need to do, right? Like Tom said also, it's a home run hitting team. That's what's been the separator for them in the postseason. Sounds easy, but that's how they win. They're obviously missing one of those guys right now in terms of having his timing correct. Giancarlo Stanton's crazy. So is Juan Soto, but can't just be 2 guys and Glaber getting on base, right? So we'll talk to Joba Chamberlain soon, actually, about what's going down in the series. We'll go through our picks for tonight. So we'll be right back on FT. All right, a couple other parts I do want to bring out. So the owner call out for not keeping players that you draft and develop. Can you get into that paragraph? And of course it hits home. I mean, this show, just like in The Athletic, you can just cover the game how it should be covered, right? Authentically. And I think it's worth pointing out that sometimes you see players like Mookie Betts on the Red Sox escape from the Red Sox because they did not want to pay him his value. And we're supposed to feel bad for, say Boston fans because their ownership group didn't have him in their portfolio views.
That's the most egregious one. That is, to me, the idea that Mookie Betts is anywhere else. It's similar to Freddie Freeman not being on the Braves, but Mookie Betts is, how do you not lock Mookie Betts up forever? How are you not in 20 years just remembering the decades of Mookie Betts on the Red Sox? He is as close to a no-brainer when it comes to locking up as it gets, especially, we're not talking about Barry Bonds and the Pirates. You're the Red Sox. You're the Red Sox. You are the Red Sox. Sign Mookie Betts. Keep him as long as it takes. And for me, I cover the Giants, and a lot of people say, where was the Giants' biggest misstep? It wasn't finishing second for Aaron Judge. It wasn't finishing second for Shohei Ohtani. So much is out of their hands. It's not finishing second for Bryce Harper. To me, the biggest missed opportunity was when the Red Sox were shopping Mookie Betts, not to just jump in front of that line and say, listen, we've got at the time these big prospects, Joey Bart, Kyle Harrison, Marco Luciano. We're just going to go over the top of whatever the Dodgers are offering. And we want Mookie Betts, not just for the year, because he had 1 year left on the contract, I believe. But just you have that negotiating window where you can convince him, hey, you're the guy for the Giants. That was their biggest misstep. And to the Dodgers' credit, yeah, they have the biggest payroll in baseball. They've got consistently the best farm system because they can throw the most resources at it. But they also were smart and said, Mookie Betts? Yeah, we'll take that. Yeah, we'll put him on the roster and keep him for as long as it takes.
Let's fizzle. Hot corner time. John Heyman said he expects the Dodgers to enter the Juan Soto free agency sweepstakes in the offseason.
Listen, if you're Juan Soto, you are loving this. You got the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Mets, and the Yankees. And the Cubs have been rumored to be in on this too.
They should be.
So you basically have the 5 biggest market teams all saying we're in on Juan Soto. Juan Soto, I think he's Scott Boras, right? Is he
Yep.
Scott Boras? Scott Boras is going, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Right? He is like, thank you.
Are you showing the ball?
Is that an Orioles hat?
You guys are crackling up a little bit. They're gonna have to reset your mic. So I'm not gonna tell everybody what Slap Hands hat is, but this one team that you did not say, and no, it's not an Orioles hat. So we have to wait. That's why I wore the hat, so that 1, you guys can reset your link, and 2, so that everybody knows that this team is also in on the Juan Soto deal, which is exactly what you need as a free agent. Yes, the market could be squashed. Yes, Boras could, do some things in free agency that some people are like, well, why does he do that? You need teams to want you. Even if you're a really good player, if there's not a fit, all of a sudden it gets dwindled down to 2 teams, 3 teams, and if 2 of them don't ever make an offer, you're pretty much just going with whoever says, okay, yeah, I guess we'll take you, which it shouldn't be that way. Everybody should be in on every player, but for Juan, he's got it figured out. He has definitely got it figured out, and it'll be exciting to watch. But first, we gotta finish this because Juan needs to add about $50 more million to his total by winning MVP, proving that me and Cam are right, that he is the MVP of this World Series, and Yankees have a lot of work to do.
Who's the word MVP? Juan Soto?
Just wait.
No, bro.
In this series?
In this series so far?
Well, also to
They
clarify.
got to win a game first.
Yeah.
No, when the Yankees come back and win it in 6, Juan Soto will be the MVP.
In 6?
In 6?
They're winning 4 in a row?
They're going to win. They're going to beat the Dodgers 4 games in a row?
I'm not waffling back and forth. I got to stick to my guns.
Yeah.
About what I picked.
Just like you don't want Booney to change the lineup much, you guys stick to whatever your thoughts are. You're not adjusting mid-series.
I'm not changing
you don't
Aaron
need
Judge
to.
and Juan Soto hit, okay?
Okay. Do you think that Judge would see better pitches?
No. He's going to get pitched exactly the same.
Yes.
Okay.
If that changed it, like everyone talks about, Joe Torre moved A-Rod down to 8th or 9th or whatever he did in that one. You're getting different pitches when you're moved down in the order like that because you just can't face the same guys. Moving in one spot, he's going to face the same guys. The Dodgers are going to go up and in, and if he's still sitting on slider, they're going to keep throwing sliders out of the zone, out of the zone, out of the zone.
Do you think that with the way Soto's been hitting the ball, there's more emphasis on locating in the zone? As opposed to getting him to chase. If he's going up saying, I need to get on base.
It's all on Aaron Judge.
Yeah, but I'm saying if he's hitting in front of Soto and then he chases less and gets on base for him, next AB, you're like, okay, I need to. No,
they're still going to attack him the same way. If Aaron Judge takes his walks, let's not forget Stan's in behind him. Stan's been a monster this postseason.
Yeah.
Right. Who was the ALCS MVP?
Giancarlo.
Okay, not Juan Soto. He's sitting behind him. He already hit a homer in this series. He's driven in some runs in this series, right? Hit the ball off the third base bag. So, I mean, he's got the guy hitting behind him that's giving him protection. So, it's not going to change. It's all on Aaron Judge.
Mm-hmm.
It's all on Aaron Judge. Can he shrink his strike zone and get back into the strike zone? If he does that, he's going to be fine. I don't know if, his guy flew up there to give him a quick hitting lesson or not, but, I'm sure he's working on it.
Well, let's hear from Judge. Let's see what Judge said to media afterward.
We've been through a lot of adversity through 162 and even in this postseason. So guys are going to step up. Guys are going to do what they need to do. And I got to step up as well. I've been, especially with what Kleber and what Warner do on the top of the lineup, man, I got to back them up. So, they're going to keep getting on base. I got to drive them in or move them over.
Aaron, do you have any explanation for why you're expanding? And when you do, how do you remedy that?
Just really locking on your zone. At times you want to, I think it's trying to make things happen instead of letting the game come to you. I think that's what it really comes down to. You see Glaber out there on base, Juan's getting on base doing things. You want to try to make something happen, but you know, if you're not going to get a pitch in the zone, you got to just take your walks and set up for big G's. So, plain and simple, I got to start swinging strikes.
Can I ask you guys a question? Is it so annoying to take questions like that where it's like, why are you struggling? Why are you expecting the zone? Do you think some guys get pissed, or it's just like, yeah, I know what to do. I got to tell them, hey, I got to be better, and it's all good.
No, it's not annoying. You understand it as a player. It's part of your job.
Yeah.
And again, it's a give and take we talked about as being a superstar, right? Especially someone in New York like Aaron Judge. He's getting paid the huge amount of money, and he's got to answer questions. He's the captain. It comes along with it, right? And Judge, listen, as somebody that has never been on Aaron Judge's level of stardom or fame or any of that stuff, when people come up to you, you have to understand the media has a job to do. And at least he stands up there, and I will give him, I'll give Jeter, I'll give a lot of these guys credit. They never hide, right? They're there, and they answer the questions every day. And there is something to be said for that, and it means something. And the biggest thing for me is he gets it. He and what he said is like, listen, Glaber, Soto are getting on base in front of me. I got to figure it out, right? So he's giving them credit, and he's taking the heat on himself. It's an A-plus teammate for me.
Yeah, I like that.
It's not just in the media. It's not just in the media. He talks exactly. Some people might say it's boring. Some people might say it's fake. He's putting on a front. He talks exactly like this when you're just hanging out, when you're just by the locker and open media time is done. This is who he is. It's authentic, and he's authentically. It's tough for him right now. He wants this as bad as anybody else wants this.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll get to our picks coming up in a few minutes. Let's jump to White Sox news since we haven't touched it at all, and AJ's back. I know you're really excited during this time of year. But
we haven't talked White Sox for a long time.
They signed Juan Soto. Oh, wait. No, that's not going to happen.
Excuse me.
They may have signed somebody named Juan Soto.
So
they signed Soto, Snell, Fried.
Maybe their next owner will. They're apparently potentially for sale, and they're looking for their new manager, George Lombard, out of the mix. We've seen some others recently out of the mix, AJ Ellis recently out of the mix. Someone else just got ruled out, but Phil Nevins.
The first base coach, McCullough. Is it Andy McCullough, the first base coach of the Dodgers?
Clayton. No, Clayton.
He was going to be the new manager of the Blue Jays. Like, when I was just finishing my time there, he was coming up through the ranks as minor league manager. Like, everybody loved him. What an amazing dude. Why is AJ Ellis out of the mix? He just took himself out of the mix? Like,
I thought he said something about family and all of that, and they don't want to deal with the pain of
maybe he realized he could never live up to the other AJ.
Yeah. Or I thought he said, 100+ losses every day is debilitating. I don't want to put that on my family. No, I'm kidding. But I don't know. He said something about fam. So maybe fam time or something. But Phil Nevin, Will Venable, Grady Sizemore among known candidates, according to John Heyman.
I mean, is Will Venable going to take this job? I mean, really?
Why not?
He's already turned down better jobs than this.
Yeah. Maybe he's got some connection where he really feels like he wants to be with the White Sox and in Chicago. No?
Listen,
who you got?
My opinion only, you know who they're going to pick.
The guy who's already there.
The guy who's already there, and he's going to be an easy hire. And they can say, because everything they've ever done is, I mean, if you think about it, right? As soon as Grady did a good job down the stretch, I mean, he did fine. I mean, whatever. But, yeah, they were all like happy, go, go, go. I just feel like, they went out and said, we're going to hire somebody outside the organization that's in uniform. Grady was already in the organization. And it's like the Chris Getz thing. It's like just an easy hire because we already know him. And we don't want to
rock the boat. There's a familiarity complex.
But that's always been kind of the White Sox thing.
Yeah, the comfort of
having comfort level. And listen, I love Grady. I played with Grady. I love Grady. And I thought Grady did a good job for him last year.
But and why did they rule him out?
Who, Grady?
Initially.
Well, they always said he's interim only. We're going to find someone else.
That's changed.
I mean, I want Phil Nevin to get it because I love Phil Nevin. I love Grady too. But I love Phil. Going there and he's like,
get someone grizzly in there.
Oh, he's awesome. I love Phil. But I love Grady too. I mean, I played with Grady. I love Grady. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just think that
I want Phil. I want to see Phil. I want to see Dirty Phil with 100 losses mid-September. I want to see how mad that guy is.
he already did it. He did it when he was with the Angels.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And I went and saw him in Philly, and it was grinder. And he had Trout and Ohtani on his roster. Like you sit. I want to see Angry Phil. So I'm in for Angry Phil.
I love Phil. Listen, I mean, whoever they hire is honestly. Let me ask you this: is whoever they hire, does it make a difference?
Yes.
Yeah.
It does. So because normally most teams do it this way: they hire somebody to get them to the brink, and then they fire that guy. Now the Orioles kind of have been the only team that have stuck with their guy to get them through the crappy seasons.
Brandon Hyde.
Right? The Cubs did it. Boom. Right? Bring in Madden right when they're ready to win. Right?
Yep.
And then the White Sox did it to the same guy, Rick Renteria, and they brought in La Russa to try to get him over the top to win, right? Buck Showalter was that guy for years. They brought in Joe Torre.
AJ Hinch just now with the Tigers went through some pain.
Yeah, but he's also established and already won a World Series.
Correct. You're saying
I'm talking about the guy that's never done it, never really won on that level, and then they get to that point where they're like, we're right on the precipice of being a really good team. Oh, let's go get the veteran guy that's been around for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just.
It does matter. It does matter who they bring in. It's not going to matter, I'm saying, wins and losses. That might mean negligible. Three wins or losses swing here or there. To me, it matters because you're building this as your organization and your philosophy, and it starts a tradition moving forward. It's going to be tough. But you build that guy and you make that guy or you bring that guy in, look what Stephen Vogt did in Cleveland. It's not like he took over a pennant-winning team and then won the division. Like, you set a standard for what's there, or you keep the standard that's going on from before. The White Sox don't want to keep the standard that was set for the last 2 years.
No, I agree. But in today's game, doesn't it come more off from the front office staff, and not just the manager? Like, they have to be in lockstep, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, listen, Stephen Vogt walked into a great situation. He did a great job. It probably is going to be the manager of the year in the American League. But he also walked into a situation where guys performed better than they thought they were going to. Pitchers performed better than they thought they did. Now, listen, some of that is because of Stephen Vogt doing the right things and all that. But you're not taking over a team that hasn't won for a while. The Guardians have been in the playoffs. They just haven't been able to get over the hump, right? The White Sox lost 121 games, the all-time record last year. Okay, so they're basically starting from scratch. And they came out and said, we're not really going to dabble in high market free agents. So they're going to probably lose 100 again next year. So that's why I'm saying, who is the right person to find that can turn it around, that can sit there and look guys in the eye and say, 5 years from now, we're going to be really good. How do we do this? That's what you have to find. And that's not an easy thing to find because a lot of guys like, where's Skip Schumacher? What happened to him? How come he's not on this list? Was he even interviewed?
He might have said no for this one. There's other jobs.
Where's he? I don't know. I mean, Will Venable has said no to jobs before.
I know, but I would imagine Skip doesn't want to take this job. He just came from a
Marlins
weird situation.
So, okay. So Venable's been rumored as a finalist for the Marlins.
Okay.
And a finalist for the White Sox. What's a better job?
Good question.
That's actually a really
what's a better
question.
job?
I mean, next year, the Marlins, but long term, probably
why?
the White Sox. There's what?
Because you have Yuri Perez. Why is the Marlins better? At least the White Sox actually spend some money.
No, there is a better core right now with the Marlins, mostly with the starting staff.
Break.
Alcantara should come back as well. So
Break.
It's a really good question and one that we can also continue in the offseason. Go ahead. Just say it and then we'll go to it.
Break. Claude is yelling at you too.
I see it. All right, here's the deal, FT fam. Let's run through BetMGM backtrack, and then we'll do our locks during the next and the final break before we get to slap hands. Also, we'll try and get to a few more questions here today before we get to this next stretch of
Y'all
3
suck,
games in
man.
a row.
Oh, Pap sucks.
Pap won.
Fine, yeah, but he's like down so much. Playoff Pap. Oof.
Kratz won. Giancarlo over 1.5 hits.
Mm-hmm.
Runs RBIs for Friday night's game. Did you call that a 5-star lock?
Yeah, it was. I wanted 5. I wanted to go over 4.5. I mean, the dude at Dodger Stadium hits absolute nuke bombs.
He does. I had a text from a friend who was at the game, and he was like, I don't know, dude, Marine Layer coming in early tonight. Because some of the balls that were hit early in that game 1 looked like they had some juice to them, but then not as much carry as anticipated, or you didn't even feel that?
Doesn't matter.
Early on, there were a few smacks off Cole right away, right? 2 or 3 balls that got pretty deep.
Yeah, but not like the G and Freddie and Ohtani and Max Muncy. Like these are Teoscar. These are dudes that hit through marine layers. They hit through 2 marine layers.
Yeah, it's a good call. You can look at money bags too, and then after this next seg, we'll go over our locks. It's a crowded screen.
How come Todd has a crown on his head?
Because he won the regular season crown. He gets the crown.
Okay.
Well, maybe you'll win the playoff crown. Are you up? Yeah, you're winning.
I'm up $1,031. Thank you.
So
Todd and AJ we're betting for the rich kids. They both put like 1,200 down, 500 down.
Yes.
Big money. Although he's only up $1.03 is what I'm seeing there. It looks like you're up some Bitcoin. You're up 1.03 Bitcoin.
What was the girl's name who got in all the trouble for the crypto this weekend? I'm in that crypto right now.
Oh, I'm not even going there. You can Google it if you want to.
If you don't know that story.
Hey, the bullpen jackpot's still running. Bet for a shot at $50,000 in bonus bets if a player hits a home run into an MLB team bullpen. So Yanks or Dodgers bullpen during these next few days here. You got to opt into the promotion. That first home run prop that you pick got to be $10 or more. Could land you with a group that wins a share of $50,000 in bonus bets. Or if you're the only one that goes with some random player, could just be you. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, FT fam, we're back. Always real with you. Didn't hear back from Joba Chamberlain, so got a little ghosted. Everyone's gotten ghosted in life. We do too, so we'll work on it.
Maybe he's interviewing for the White Sox job. He wants to be a manager. Maybe he's going to be the White Sox manager.
Apparently, he doesn't fit the criteria. Neither did Grady, but he's probably going to get it.
Criteria.
Actually, neither did Phil Nevin. Now that I think about it, because he wasn't in uniform last year for another team.
Right. Yeah, it was Wash.
So I don't know.
Okay, question for you. I promised everyone we get to a couple here real quick. Michael in the chat. Question for the catchers. What's your approach to calling pitches against Ohtani, Mookie, Freeman late in games?
Depends on who's on the mound.
Depends on who's on the mound. Yeah.
It depends on who's on the mound, how I've attacked them before. Listen, it's a fluid situation. What your guy has, you don't know what your guy has.
Tommy Canley. I know.
Well, I
can handle this. I can handle this. Tommy, let's go change up. Okay, Tommy, change up. What else?
I will say this, though. All right, so we're talking about this. The other night we have a thread from our Fox people. Wayno texts us, and he goes, either Ohtani or Betts is going to hit. I think he said or Freddie. One of them is going to hit a homer off Canely because he's thrown 75 changeups in a row, and he made a mistake, and Ohtani missed it by 2 inches, and then he got to third because Glaber had the error. But yeah, I mean, eventually, as a hitter, I'm like, all right, screw it, 75 in a row. I'm sitting on it, and he eventually made a mistake, and he did to Ohtani, and he missed it by about 20 inches.
It's crazy to me that guys aren't sitting on it. I mean, pretty much from the jump when you see how many pitches he's thrown in a row, the same kind. I know that thing definitely is one of the better changeups in baseball. But we're talking to Brent Rooker and Vinny Pasquantino on the watch party, and I encourage everyone to go listen to it. They were like, you can't be the guy that misses out on that one fastball. I'm like, guys, I don't think it's happening. And you guys know a billion times more than I do, and you're in the league. But anyway, let's step aside again. We'll get to a few more questions. I see them during Slap Hands. Be right back, FT-Fam. All right, let's do this. AJ, you've got the lead in the postseason. Your lock? Explain.
It's real easy. FT regular, Max Muncy. Over 1.5 hits, runs, and runs batted in. I think he's going deep off Clark Schmidt tonight, and that'll cover them all. That's it.
Yeah.
I just think Muncy's due. He's kind of struggled a little bit so far in the World Series, but FT muscles are real. He's going deep tonight.
I'm a big hits, runs, and runs batted in guy. I've been hitting that prop a lot on my own, not just part of the lock. What do you got, Kratz?
Oh, they're just throwing a bunch of break curveballs. Struggles, doesn't really swing a lot of curveballs, so I would agree. You can't just keep throwing them to him. He's going to hit it at some point. I'm going Walker Buehler and Clark Schmidt, both under 4.5 Ks. Bullpens are rested, and I think they're going to go to them sooner. They both have – I know Buehler went 90 pitches last time, but it was only 4 innings. And Schmidt, he went 75 pitches and 71 pitches his last 2 outings. I'm going under for plus 185.
Okay, and I've got the Yanks winning. Maybe I'm betting with my heart a little bit. I don't know. I don't care. Minus 110 because I pair that with over 4.5 runs. So right now, or at least before the show I looked, it's at minus 150. That's too steep for me if you know how I roll for the most part. But minus 110 is right in my wheelhouse. So I buy some runs down and get myself to that Yanks money line. So we'll see what happens. And then playoff Pap, thinking there's going to be some scoring tonight. You think it'll be high scoring?
I just think they're hitting the over under pretty well. The only time it went over was the Grand Slam. So
right. That hooked it where it was 8.5 and it got to 9. Yesterday's game, or whatever, 2 days ago, the game, I mean, it ended in 4-2, so it hit the under at 6 runs. But, I mean, there was not much for the rest of the game after the early home run action from the Dodgers.
The runs were all early, and then the Yankees scored the run late.
The one run, but the Yanks bullpen fared really well against that LA lineup. Often they kind of, you think it'll be over tomorrow. Okay.
Tomorrow.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that. We already know Kratz's lock for tomorrow, but also your Sports Equinox pack is already dropped into your account. If you've got a BetMGM account, no opt-in necessary. Add your sports wagers with the specified minimum odds and amount of legs to your bet slip, then activate those respective tokens. And it's for the 4 major sports all going down. This is a big week where you get every sport in action, like tonight, of course, NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB. Go check it out. FT fam. Gambling problem concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
By the way, Pat is getting destroyed in the chat. They're calling him all kinds of names. Golf course Pat, layoff Pat, because his picks in the postseason suck. So he's getting destroyed. So Pat, pick it up.
Hey, I want to thank all the great guests we've had so far this postseason. I mean, Tom Verducci is a great example because he's hustling right now in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. You know, you guys did a lot out there. You, Wayno, when you guys were covering the DS there. So thanks to Tom because it continues tomorrow. We'll have Ken Rosenthal on. We'll actually get Ron Darling making his FT debut, coming off calling the last series. Mm-hmm. And we'll get his take on either the Yankees jumping back into the series or what happened and what he saw differently from the Guardians to the Dodgers to be able to tame the Yanks. So we'll talk to him. Corbin Carroll is scheduled to join us on Wednesday. So giving everyone a little sneak peek on what to expect for the guest list for the next few days. But last thoughts on tonight's game? Anything else we're missing from the first couple games?
Yankees need to win. That's it. They need to win, obviously. I mean, that's like the most obvious thing. Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Thank you.
I mean, but the Yankees need to win. The Yankees need to get on them early and get the crowd behind them, and they need a good start from Clark Schmidt.
Did these first 2 games tell you anything like the Dodgers are a better team, or you don't really feel that way yet?
I still think they're pretty evenly matched. I mean, you take away the Freeman grand slam,
And it's 1-1.
it's 1-1.
Yeah.
I mean, Yamamoto shoved in game 2.
Yes.
Rodon gave up a couple homers and the game was over. But Yamamoto was the story. In game 1, that was just a great game. Freddie had an all-time moment, right? A historic moment. Hit the grand slam, the whole thing. But other than that, I mean, you take away that one pitch, Yankees 1-1. They're like, we might not go back to LA because we might win all 3 here in Yankee Stadium. So, listen, I'm like Tom Verducci. I want this thing to go back. I want it to go 7. See what happens because I want a great series.
I also don't think I definitely didn't mention this because it was Friday night's game. Then we did the post game. I don't think I had time for it, but Jack Flaherty could have been a Yankee. Jack Flaherty could have been a Yankee. Come on, I got to get that in there, Kratz. We've been talking about this for 3-4 months. There is video of us on this show at the trade deadline being like, they better not meet up with the Dodgers in the World Series. If Flaherty shuts them down for a couple games, there's a doctor that's going to be in some trouble. It's true. I'm telling you. They failed him. They said, don't trade for the guy. D-Rad in the chat saying still with that nonsense. It's not nonsense. It's true. Multiple insiders have said it. I don't care what the freaking GMs are saying publicly. If you believe everything that a team employee says all the time, then you've got other issues and you're probably not watching or listening to our show enough. Come on, D. You know better. We know the storyline. And there's still insiders who I like who are tweeting it out, talking about it. They could have had him.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is not about the Yanks rotation needing him. Although that version of Flaherty the other day fits for any rotation.
Mm-hmm.
He was dealing. They could have had him.
Mm-hmm.
Period. It's a storyline. If he's not on the Dodgers right now, where are they at?
If the 3 trade
They're winning 2-0.
You still think they're winning 2-0 if Flaherty's not pitching in the postseason for the Dodgers?
The Yankees knew they would have gotten somebody else. The Yankees knew that Giancarlo Stanton could hit a dinger off him, so they let him go to LA.
Dude, they got Flaherty late. That was like one of
last
those
second,
at the buzzer
yes.
pickups. And if not, they didn't get someone else of that caliber. So you can say, it's no big deal. They might not have gotten to this point.
That's what I mean. They might not have made the World Series.
That's what I'm saying. I just want to bring up the fact that one thing that seems maybe a little bit small at the time is massive and has implications on other teams as well.
If they don't have Kopech, Edman, and Flaherty, they're not in the World Series.
Agreed.
Oh.
No doubt.
And they gave up Trey Sweeney, who they didn't think could be an everyday shortstop.
Yep.
They gave up Miguel Vargas, who they kind of have given up on. And they gave up 2 A-ball guys.
Yeah, prospects. There's a good catcher prospect in there, but whatever. Who cares? Also, catcher prospects for the Dodgers.
Yeah, they got them lined up at every level.
Make sure you watch Baseball America Hot Sheet. We're on every Monday, 3:30 Eastern on the Baseball America YouTube channel. We talked a little bit about Dalton Rushing, who's a stud catching prospect. And they have Will Smith for the next decade, too, so they're fine. If they want to keep figuring out a way to get good catching prospects in their system and trade them, go for it, because it's turning into gold for them. So I give them a ton of credit. They did a great job at the trade deadline. Some teams did, some teams didn't. I mean, Edman's the real amazing part
really
of this.
solved an issue for him, too, late in the game.
Yep. But nobody saw Edman doing this. He's a nice player. He's a good player. He does everything. He's a baseball player, right? No tool stands out a ton. Every tool is solid.
He just does everything solid.
Yeah, everything's solid. And honestly, you can make a case in the past. Cool trophy.
He's got a cool trophy now at his house. NLCS MVP.
Oh, yeah, of course. All right, so here's the deal, FT fam. Dodgers territory. Like, feeling good. What's the thing you always do, Kratz?
That's... little